Elena Ramirez stopped believing in Christmas miracles the night her husband left. That was 2 years ago. Since then, double shifts at the hospital, microwave dinners, a grandmother slowly dying in the next room. But this Christmas Eve, a stranger knocked on her door. Wrong apartment, wrong floor, wrong man. He was soaking wet, holding a casserole dish. And when she looked into his eyes, she saw the same exhaustion she felt every morning in the mirror. His name was Julian, and he was about to become the most important mistake of her life. Now here's the thing. Elena had every reason to slam that door shut. She'd been burned before. She'd learned her lesson about trusting men who show up unannounced with kind eyes and warm food. But she didn't close the door. And because of that one decision, one moment of weakness or maybe courage, everything changed. By the end of that night, she would learn 3 things. 1. Julian wasn't just some lonely stranger. 2. The machines keeping her grandmother alive, his company built them. And 3. Sometimes the person you need most shows up exactly when you've given up looking. Before we go any further, if you love stories about second chances, real love, and Christmas miracles that don't feel fake, hit that subscribe button right now. Because if you skip it, you'll forget. You'll scroll past the next story, and you'll miss the endings that actually matter. Don't let that happen. Now, back to the night that changed everything. It started with a knock, and it ended with a promise neither of them saw coming. December 24th, 11:47 p.m. Elena's apartment smelled like disinfectant and lavender. The disinfectant was from the hospital. It clung to her scrubs no matter how many times she washed them. The lavender was from the candle her grandmother insisted on burning every Christmas Eve. A tradition, one of the few left. Elena stood in her tiny kitchen, staring at the container of soup she'd bought from the deli downstairs. Chicken noodle, $4.99. It was supposed to be dinner, but she wasn't hungry. She was tired. The kind of tired sleep doesn't fix. Her shift had ended 3 hours late. A kid came in with pneumonia, another with a broken arm from sledding. Christmas Eve in the ER was always chaos, and the pediatric wing was no exception. She peeled off her scrubs, threw them in the hamper, pulled on sweatpants and an oversized sweater that used to belong to her ex-husband. She still wore it, not because she missed him, but because it was warm, and warmth was expensive. In the next room, her grandmother, Abuela Rosa, was asleep. The heart monitor beeped softly, steady, for now. Elena stood in the doorway, watching her breathe. Rosa had raised her, fed her, taught her to pray, to cook, to love people even when they didn't deserve it. And now? Elena was watching her fade. The doctor said she had maybe 6 months, maybe less. The medication was $1,200 a month. Insurance covered some of it, but not enough. Elena worked doubles to cover the rest. She hadn't bought herself new shoes in a year. She ate 1 meal a day. She smiled at work, held babies, told parents their kids would be fine. And then she came home, and she cried in the shower where no one could hear. But tonight, she wasn't going to cry. Tonight, she was going to heat up her soup, watch a movie, pretend Christmas didn't hurt, and just when she thought the night was settled, knock, knock, knock. Elena froze. Nobody knocked on her door at midnight, especially not on Christmas Eve. She walked to the peephole, looked through. A man stood in the hallway, tall, dark coat, wet hair plastered to his forehead, holding a glass dish covered in foil. He looked lost. She cracked the door open, chain still on. "Can I help you?" He blinked. Snowflakes melted on his collar. "I'm so sorry," he said. His voice was low, polite, tired. "I think I have the wrong apartment. I'm looking for 3B. This is 3A. Right. He looked down at the dish in his hands like he'd forgotten he was holding it. I'm sorry. I'll go. But he didn't move, and neither did she. Here's what Elena noticed in that moment. His hands were shaking, not from the cold, from something else. "Are you okay?" she asked. It was instinct. She was a nurse. She asked that question 100 times a day. But this time, it felt different. He looked up, met her eyes, and for a second, just a second, she saw it. The same thing she saw in her own mirror every morning: loneliness. "I'm fine," he said. He wasn't. "You're soaked," Elena said. "And it's freezing out there." "I'll be fine." "You said that already." He almost smiled. Almost. Elena should have closed the door, should have wished him a Merry Christmas and gone back to her soup, but instead, she heard herself say, "Do you want to come in? Just for a minute. Warm up." And just when she thought he'd say no, he nodded. If it's not too much trouble, trouble. That's exactly what he was about to become. But Elena had no idea. The man standing in her hallway wasn't just a stranger. He was carrying a secret that would turn her entire world upside down. Elena stepped aside. Julian walked in. He moved carefully, like he wasn't used to being in small spaces, like he was trying not to take up too much room. Her apartment was nothing special. 1 bedroom, a pull-out couch, a kitchen the size of a closet, Christmas lights strung across the window because Abuela liked them. But it was clean. It was hers. Julian set the casserole dish on the counter. "You can put your coat on the chair," Elena said. He did. Underneath, he wore a sweater. Expensive, charcoal gray. The kind of thing you see in store windows and don't bother looking at the price tag because you already know. Elena filled the kettle, turned on the stove. "Tea, please." They didn't talk right away. The kettle hummed. The heart monitor beeped softly from the other room. Outside, snow fell in thick, silent clumps. Julian stood by the window, looking out at the city. "You live alone?" he asked. "No. My grandmother. She's asleep." He nodded. "You?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "Just me." Elena poured 2 mugs of tea. Chamomile, the cheap kind. She handed him one. He wrapped both hands around it like it was the first warm thing he'd held in months. "So," she said, "who are you looking for? In 3B? Julian hesitated. "A family. I volunteer with a charity group. We deliver meals on Christmas Eve." He looked down at the dish. "I guess I got the address wrong." "That's kind of you." "Is it?" He said it like he wasn't sure. Elena sat on the arm of the couch. "Most people don't spend Christmas Eve delivering food to strangers. Most people have someone to spend it with." Silence. But not the awkward kind. The kind where 2 people realize they're both standing in the same storm. "I'm Elena," she said. "Julian. Nice to meet you, Julian." "You too." They sipped their tea, and then, because neither of them wanted to be alone, they started talking. Really talking. "Why aren't you with family tonight?" Elena asked. Julian's jaw tightened. "Just a little. My father passed last Christmas." "I'm sorry." "Thank you." He paused. "He always wanted me to slow down, spend more time at home. I told him I would, after the next deal, after the next launch." "After," his voice cracked. "I ran out of afters." Elena's chest ached. She knew that feeling. The guilt of not doing enough, of running out of time. "What about you?" Julian asked gently. "Why are you here alone?" Elena looked at her tea. "I'm not alone. I have my grandmother." "You know what I mean." She did. "My husband left 2 years ago," she said. "I worked too much. He said I cared more about my patients than I did about him." She laughed, but it was bitter. "Maybe he was right. Were you happy before he left?" "I don't know. I was busy." "I thought that was the same thing." Julian nodded. "I understand that." They talked for an hour. maybe more. Elena told him about her job, about the kids she saw every day, about how some of them didn't make it, and how she still remembered every single name. Julian told her about his father, about how he built his career trying to prove something, and how empty it felt now that his dad wasn't around to see it. And somewhere in that conversation, they both realized they hadn't felt this scene in years. But then, Julian said something that made Elena pause. "I work in medical technology," he said. "Devices, monitoring systems, it's what I do." Elena looked at him. "You build medical equipment?" "Yeah." "What kind?" He hesitated. "Mostly cardiac, respiratory, ICU-level stuff." Elena's heart skipped. The machine in her grandmother's room. It was a Hale Systems monitor, but she didn't make the connection yet. Not yet. And just when Elena started to feel safe, Julian was about to say something that would change everything forever. Julian glanced at the stove. "Have you eaten?" Elena shook her head. "I was going to heat up some soup. What if we made something together?" He nodded toward the casserole dish. "It's still warm. There's enough for two." Elena raised an eyebrow. "You want to share a charity meal with me?" "I don't think the family in 3B will miss it." He smiled. "A real one this time. Besides, I'm tired of eating alone." And so, they cooked. Well, reheated, but it felt like more than that. Elena pulled out two mismatched plates. Julian set the table. She found a bottle of sparkling cider in the back of the fridge left over from Thanksgiving. They sat across from each other. The casserole was chicken and rice. Simple, warm, perfect. Julian took a bite, closed his eyes. "This tastes better than anything I've had in months." "Really?" "Really. You must eat at some fancy places." He laughed. "I do, and I hate every one of them." They ate slowly, talked more. Elena told him about her abuela, about how she used to make tamales every Christmas, about how she sang while she cooked, even though she couldn't carry a tune. Julian told her about his dad's terrible jokes, about how he'd wear the same ridiculous Santa hat every year and refuse to take it off. And for the first time in a long time, they both laughed. Not polite laughter, real laughter, the kind that makes your stomach hurt and your eyes water. After dinner, they washed the dishes together. Elena washed. Julian dried. It was domestic, quiet, easy. "You're good at this," she said. "At drying dishes? At being here. Present. A lot of people don't know how to do that." Julian looked at her. "I'm learning." They moved to the couch. Elena turned on the TV, some old black and white Christmas movie, but neither of them really watched it. They just sat there, close, but not touching. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said. "Sure." "Why did you let me in?" Elena thought about it. "Honestly? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe because you looked like I felt." "And how's that? Like you were trying really hard to hold it together." Julian's throat worked. "I haven't told anyone that. About my dad. About how much I regret." He stopped. "I don't usually talk like this. Why are you talking now?" He looked at her. Really looked. "Because you asked." And right then, Elena felt it. That pull, the one that scares you. The one that makes you want to run and stay at the same time. But before she could say anything, a voice came from the other room. "Mija? Is someone here?" Elena stood quickly. "It's okay, abuela. Go back to sleep." But Rosa was already shuffling into the hallway, thin, frail, wrapped in a blanket. She squinted at Julian, and then her face lit up. "David? You came back?" Elena's stomach dropped. David, her ex-husband. "No, abuela. This isn't." But Rosa was already reaching for Julian. And here's the thing. Julian didn't pull away. He didn't correct her. He stepped forward, took her hand gently. "It's good to see you," he said softly. Rosa smiled, tears in her eyes. I knew you'd come back. I knew it. Elena's throat burned. She wanted to stop this, to explain. But watching Julian hold her grandmother's hand with such care, she couldn't speak. Julian helped Rosa back to bed, tucked the blanket around her, whispered something Elena couldn't hear. Rosa closed her eyes, smiled, and drifted back to sleep. Julian came back to the living room. Elena was standing by the window, arms crossed. "I'm sorry," she said. "She gets confused. Don't apologize. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to." And that's when Elena realized this man, this stranger, had just given her grandmother a moment of peace, something Elena hadn't been able to do in months. But what Elena didn't know was that the man standing in her living room wasn't just kind. He was powerful. And the truth he was about to tell her, it would break her wide open. Okay, pause. If you're feeling this story, if you're wondering what happens next, do me a favor. Drop a comment right now. Just one word. Hope, love, Christmas. Anything. Because I promise you, this story gets deeper. And I need to know you're still with me. Don't just watch. Be part of this. They sat back down. The movie played on. But neither of them cared. Julian leaned forward, hands clasped. "Elena." "Yeah? I need to tell you something." Her heart sped up. "Okay." He took a breath. "When I said I work in medical technology, I wasn't lying, but I wasn't telling you the whole truth either." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't just work in the industry. He looked her in the eyes. "I own it, or part of it." "Own what?" "Hale Medical Systems." Silence. Elena blinked. "Hale, as in the monitors? The ventilators?" "Yes. As in..." She stood, walked to the doorway, looked at the machine next to her grandmother's bed. "Hale Systems." She turned back to Julian. "That's you?" He nodded. "You're a millionaire." "Yes. And you were delivering casseroles." "I told you. I volunteer." "Julian, people like you don't knock on the wrong door by accident." His face tightened. "I'm still a person, Elena." She sat down. Hard. Her mind was racing. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to see me. Not my bank account, not my company, just me." And here's the truth. Elena understood that. Because she'd spent her whole marriage being seen as a paycheck, a caretaker, a second priority. She knew what it was like to be invisible. But this was different. "You should have told me," she said quietly. "I know. I told you everything. About my ex, about my abuela, about how I can barely afford her medication." Her voice cracked. "And you just sat there, knowing you could fix it with a phone call." "I didn't want to fix you, Elena. I wanted to know you." She looked at him. He looked wrecked. "I'm sorry," Julian said. "I should have told you sooner, but I haven't had a real conversation in 2 years. I haven't sat with someone and felt like they actually cared what I had to say. And I was terrified that if you knew, you'd look at me differently. I am looking at you differently. I know." Elena's hands were shaking, because part of her was angry, but part of her understood. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Nothing." "Julian, I mean it. I don't want anything from you." He stood, grabbed his coat. "I knocked on the wrong door. You let me in. We talked. That's all this has to be." "Then why are you telling me now?" He stopped at the door, turned. "Because I don't want to lie to you, even by omission." He paused. "And because I want to help, if you'll let me." "Help how?" "Your grandmother's medication, the medical bills. I have connections, resources. I can make calls. I'm not a charity case. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering help. There's a difference." Elena's chest felt tight. I don't even know you. I know. You could be anyone. I could be, asterisk, asterisk, but, asterisk, asterisk, I'm not. And then he did something that broke her. He pulled out his wallet, took out a business card, set it on the counter. If you change your mind, call me. If you don't, that's okay too. He opened the door. Merry Christmas, Elena. And he left. Elena stood there, staring at the card. Julian Hale, founder and CEO, Hale Medical Systems. She picked it up, turned it over. On the back, handwritten in pen, "You deserve more than microwaved soup and an empty apartment, J." And for the first time in 2 years, Elena cried. Not because she was sad, but because someone had seen her, really seen her. But the story doesn't end there. Because 3 days later, Elena made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. 3 days passed. Elena didn't call. She went to work, came home, took care of Abuela, but she thought about him all the time. She Googled him. Julian Hale, 38, Forbes, 30, under 30. Built Hale Medical from the ground up after his father was misdiagnosed due to faulty equipment. He wasn't just rich, he'd built his empire on grief, just like her. On December 27th, Elena's supervisor called her into the office. "We got a donation," she said. "Anonymous, a big one. Enough to cover the cost of 3 new PICU monitors." Elena's heart stopped. "Who?" "We don't know, but the equipment's coming from Hale Medical. Top of the line. They're even sending a team to install it for free." Elena knew. That night, she pulled out the card, stared at it, and finally, she called. He answered on the second ring. "Elena." "Hi." Silence. "I got your message," she said. "I didn't leave a message. The monitors. At my hospital." He didn't deny it. "I told you I wanted to help. Julian, you don't have to thank me. I'm not calling to thank you." Pause. "Then why are you calling?" Elena took a breath. "I want to see you." They met at a park. Small, quiet, covered in snow. Christmas lights still hung from the trees. Julian was already there when she arrived, hands in his coat pockets, breath visible in the cold. He looked nervous. She was too. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They started walking, slowly. "I've been thinking," Elena said, "about what you said, about help versus charity." "And?" "I'm still not sure I know the difference." Julian nodded. "Fair." They walked in silence for a minute. Then Elena stopped. "Why me?" "What?" "You could have gone to any apartment, any door. Why did you stay at mine?" Julian looked at her. "Because when you opened the door, you didn't look at me like I was an inconvenience. You looked at me like I mattered." Elena's throat tightened. "You did matter. Past tense? I don't know yet." And here's what she wanted to say. "I'm terrified. I'm terrified that you're too good, that this is a dream, that I'll wake up and you'll be gone. I'm terrified that if I let you in, I'll lose myself again." But instead, she said, "I don't want to be saved, Julian. I'm not trying to save you." "Then what are you trying to do?" He stepped closer. "I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to tell you that I haven't stopped thinking about you since Christmas Eve, that I've been to 100 galas and 1,000 meetings, and none of them felt as real as sitting on your couch drinking cheap tea." Elena's eyes burned. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Trust someone. Let someone in. I tried that once. It didn't work. I'm not him. I know. But I'm still me." Julian reached out. Slowly, he took her hand. "Then don't let me in," he said quietly. "Walk beside me instead." And that was the moment. Not a kiss, not a grand gesture, just a choice. Elena squeezed his hand. Okay, okay, let's try. Slow, honest, no rescuing. Julian smiled. A real one, deal. And then he kissed her, soft, gentle, like a promise. Snow fell around them, Christmas lights glowed, and for the first time in years, Elena believed in something again. But this isn't the end, because 1 year later, everything they built together was about to be tested in a way neither of them saw coming. If you're still here, if this story made you feel something, I need you to do 2 things. 1, subscribe, because I'm going to keep telling stories like this, real ones, ones that matter. And 2, comment below and tell me, would you have let Julian in? Would you have trusted him? Be honest. I want to know. 1 year later, December 24th. Elena's apartment looked different now. Abuela was still there, but she was healthier, stronger. The new medication, donated quietly by a certain medical company, had bought her time, maybe years. Elena had quit working doubles. She still loved her job, but she'd learned to love her life too. Julian had helped with that, not by throwing money at her problems, but by showing up every week, every call, every moment she needed someone, he was there, and she'd done the same for him. They didn't live together yet, but they were building something, slowly, carefully, honestly. That Christmas Eve, they cooked together. In her tiny kitchen, tamales, Abuela's recipe. Julian was terrible at folding them. Elena laughed until she couldn't breathe. Rosa watched from the table, smiling. You keep him, Mija, she said. Elena looked at Julian. He looked back. I plan to, she said. After dinner, they sat by the window. The same window where Julian had stood a year ago, soaking wet and lost. He handed her a small box. What's this? Open it. Inside was a snow globe, a lighthouse, waves crashing, snow swirling inside. It's beautiful, she whispered. It reminded me of you. A lighthouse? Yeah. Strong, steady, guiding people home. Elena set it on the windowsill, right next to the Christmas lights. Thank you. You're welcome. They sat in silence. The good kind. The kind where you don't need words because the person next to you already understands. Can I tell you something? Julian said. Always. A year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost everything that mattered. And now? He smiled. Now I know I was wrong. I didn't lose everything. I just hadn't found it yet. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm glad you knocked on the wrong door. Me too. Outside, snow began to fall. Soft, silent, perfect. And inside, 2 people who'd been lost found exactly what they'd been looking for. Elena Ramirez thought she'd spend Christmas alone. She thought her best days were behind her. She thought love was something that happened to other people. But sometimes, the wrong door is the right one. Sometimes, a stranger is exactly who you've been waiting for. And sometimes, the life you're meant to live begins the moment you stop closing yourself off from it. Julian knocked on her door by accident, but nothing that happened after was an accident. It was choice. It was courage. It was 2 broken people deciding they were stronger together. So here's my question for you. Would you have opened the door? Would you have taken the risk? Would you have believed? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story reminded you that love, real love, is still possible, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. And sometimes, the wrong knock is the beginning of the right forever.